doing a story time on dating somebody's grandfather. Okay, so he's nobody's grandfather, and we didn't actually date, but he old. Like, he old. So, to get it started, the way we started talking off was, like, really weird. So, I had a friend at work. She was pregnant. And he worked with us, but he worked in, like, a whole different type of thing than what we did. So he would ask me every morning if she wasn't there yet. He would always ask me, did she have the baby yet? Did she have the baby yet? And I'd be like, no. And that'd be the end of our conversation, right? So eventually she went on maternity leave because she had the baby. And then we started talking more. Like, it would be more than just questions on if she had the baby. So we would start joking around and we would just talk, and it'd be fine. Like, it'd be cool. It'd be like, that's it, because we'd talk for like maybe 5 minutes at the most every time we talked, and that's all it would be. One time we were joking around, and I was just like, nah, I'm not gonna say what I was gonna say and all that type of stuff. And he's like, oh, just text it to me. And I'm like, but I don't have your number. And he's like, everybody has my number. So, like, one, that's a red flag. Like, why everyone got your number? Like, okay. Anyway, he said everyone got his number. So I'm like, okay, well, I don't. So then he told me his number. And we started texting that night. We didn't really text too seriously. Like, we would text here and there. It wouldn't be too long conversations or nothing like that. It would just be basic stuff. And then one day I asked him to take me home because I had no other way home, and he's like, okay. So I'm like, great, cool, that's great. Now I don't gotta pay for an Uber home. And on our way back to where I live, we would have like these deep conversations and everything in the car. So that's kind of how our friendship got started. Like, we would just have these deep conversations about multiple things. I'm like, okay, he's a cool person to talk to, I guess. Like, that's fine. When you look at him, he doesn't look old unless you really looking at him. Like, unless you really looking at his face, he does not show his age. Like, I would say he probably looks like he's at the end of his 30s or early 40s at the most. But then when you look at his hands, that's a whole different story. His hands make him look like he 100 years old. Like, oh my gosh. Like, oh my gosh. But anyway, so the way I found out about his age is a whole different thing. Like, it's weird because one of my co-workers, she's a really good friend of mine. She was telling me, actually no, I didn't tell anybody about this because, like, me and him both wanted this to be a complete secret. Like, we wanted nobody knowing about it or anything like that. So I wouldn't tell her who it was, and she's like, what if I guess? I'm like, okay. So she ended up guessing who it was. I'm like, yeah. And at some point in that conversation, she told me how old he was. I was like, what? No, he's not. And she's like, yes, he is. I ended up texting him, and I was like, how old are you? And he says some 25. And I was like, what you mean 25? Like, no, try again. You not know 25. And he was like, 37. I'm like, dang. So we just throwing out random numbers now. Like, okay. And I was like, no, try again. I know you're not 37. He came up with some 46. And I was like, okay, so he's still just giving me random numbers. He's not telling me the right age. And then he said 51. And I was like, oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. I was like, that's something. I'm like, this man don't know how old he is. That's how messed up his mind is. Like, he up here saying he 25. Then he's saying he 51. Like, dang, do you want a senior discount? Do you want a student discount? What do you want? Like, what? How old are you today? Like, help me figure that out. Though I knew this, like, I kept talking to him, and I don't know why. Like, I just continued talking to him, I made this whole thing continue. It was weird. It was a whole entire weird situation, because I knew I shouldn't have kept it going, but I did anyway. And for what reason, I don't know why. Like, it was entertaining. It was really entertaining. And some of the stuff this man would say. Well, no, we were sitting in his truck one day, and out of nowhere he said, "Dang, they fog up just like in the movies." And I was just like, hold on a minute. Like, I'm 20, and I know this. You're 51, and you're telling me you just now figuring this out? You just now realizing this? Like, really? Okay. Me being the person I am, I was like, you know what? Okay. I told him, like, come in through my window. Because I knew he wasn't serious. The thing is, my window don't even open. It's sealed shut. Like, both of my windows are completely shut. One maybe opens up, like, a little bit. But it's barely to where it opens enough to get air. Like, nobody getting in through that. After a little bit of us talking, like, after we started texting and everything like that, he would just come into the store and watch me. Like, he would just watch me and watch me. And I'm like, dang, are you good? Do you gotta watch me? Like, why? Like, he would... I don't even know how to put it into words, his extent of watching me. Like, that's just what he did. If I wasn't there, he would know, and he would text me. He'd be like, hey, are you okay? Why are you not at work? And that kind of stuff. Like, he would be on it. And I'm just like, dang, how about we chill a little bit? Because we not nothing. All we doing is talking. We not a thing or anything. So why are you worried? And why do you keep calling and checking up on me? That don't make sense. Anyway... One time, I was with one of my other co-workers, and we were dropping clothes in the kids section, and out of nowhere, he pops up, and he just stops and stares at me for a minute, and I stare back, and then he walks through one row of clothes, and I could feel him staring at me while he was walking through the clothes. I'm just like, why? But it looked like the way he was walking, it looked like he was going into the office. So I was like, okay, whatever, he's just being weird. So he didn't go into the office. He made a turn. And I felt him watching me through the clothes again. And then out of nowhere, he popped up right where he started and just stares at me again. And I just stared back. I'm like, why are you staring? Like, in my head, I'm just like, why is he staring? Is there something wrong? What is the issue? So then I was like, hey, why is everybody sad today? Did somebody die or something? This man completely ignored me. Like I wasn't even talking. I was just like, oh, okay. So you can stare at me, but you can't say anything back to me. Okay. So then it was like a week later. I was like, you know what? Like, me and that same friend were up in the front of the store. I was like, you know what? I'm going to be petty. I'm going to do what I do and be petty. When he comes in, I'm going to just stare at him. I'm not going to say nothing. I'm going to just stare like he does me. So he walks in, and I'm just staring at him. My friend says good morning to him. He didn't reply or nothing. He just starts staring back. And out of nowhere, he says, y'all like what y'all see? And me and her just look at each other, and she's like, I was waiting for you to say good morning back. I said good morning. And then I'm just staring back. I didn't say nothing back. I'm just continuously staring because that's what he do. So out of nowhere, he says I like your shirt. I've wore this shirt at least 2 times a week since I've gotten it at my job, because we are supposed to wear red if we don't want to wear an apron, and that shirt was red. So I wore it at least 2 times a week, so I know I wore that shirt a lot. And I was like, I've wore this shirt at least 50 times already. He's like, oh, well, I'll be trying to undress you in my eyes or nothing. And then I'm just like, okay, that's weird. Is that what we're doing now? Is that the type of responses we're giving people now? Okay, I get it. There are so many weird things I could go on and on about. Like, he would literally just pop up at my place. Like, ever since the first time he took me home, he would just pop up out of nowhere. Like, why? Why are you doing that? That is unnecessary. Like, he would give me no type of heads up or nothing. He'll just be there, and I'm just like, why? So he texted me one time. It was like 9:30 at night probably, and he said, what are you doing? And you know, I thought it was weird because he's old, so he's normally asleep by like 8:30 or 9, or at least that's when he's telling me he's going to sleep. And I'm like, okay, because like, you know, don't want to keep old people up past their bedtime or they be getting grumpy. So he texted me at 9:30, so I thought that was weird. He's like, what are you doing? And I said, nothing, just watching TV. Why? And he's like, oh, well, I'm in your neighborhood. This man was parked outside my window. How is that my neighborhood? Like, I mean, I guess that could be considered my neighborhood, but you know, right outside my window, that is not my neighborhood. I'm gonna need you to go on somewhere. You should say, I am at your window. Like, not, no, I'm in your neighborhood. Because, you know, I'm expecting you to be like 10 minutes away maybe if you in my neighborhood. No, you completely outside my window. For what? Like, we didn't have no plans scheduled or nothing, and you just popping up for no reason. Anyway, so that's not the only time that's happened. Like, one time he texted me and he was like, hey, I'm in your area. And I was just like, oh, okay, cool. And he's like, are you going to come outside or what? And I'm like, no, it's not dark out or nothing. It's still light outside. Like, what we going to do? It's light outside. We're not going to do nothing. And he was like, okay. He's like, I'll just take my ass back home then. I'm like, okay, go ahead. Go do that. I don't really care. So then again, like a few days later, he said, I'm in your area. I'm gonna be in your area around 6:30. Are you gonna come outside, or is it not dark enough? And I was like, no, it's not dark enough. It's gonna be light outside still. What are you talking about? And he's like, okay. So then another time, he said, I passed your area around 7:30, and I'm like, thanks for the info. I mean, that's cool. But why you keep popping up? Like, why? Nobody is telling you to come pop up that much. Nobody is telling you to pop up at all. Like, stay in your lane. You live in Smyrna. Go to your neighborhood in Smyrna. Me and him always talk on and off. Like, we would talk on and off for, like, I think it was like 3 months, maybe 3 or 4. I don't know. I don't really remember. But it was just on and off constantly, because, like, he'd piss me off or I'd piss him off. He would always say I didn't piss him off, but I knew that's what it was when he didn't reply to me. Because he stopped replying to me one time when I was pushing him about the age thing, because he didn't want to tell me how old he actually was, so he got mad that I was pushing it. But anyway, so he'd either piss me off or I'd piss him off, and we wouldn't talk for maybe like a week or two. And then out of nowhere, this other girl pops up that just starts working at the same place we're working at, and she says that she thinks he's fine and everything like that. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna tell her we talking so that she don't try to talk to him. And I told her that, and she was like, okay, I'm gonna back off. I'm like, okay, cool, keep it that way. Like, that's fine. And like, fast forward maybe 2 weeks or whatever, he starts talking to me less, because he talking to her now. And he doing all this stuff for her. Never did anything for me. Only thing he ever did for me was take me home when I asked him to. But you know what? It's fine, because, like, I don't want nothing from him anyway. But the whole thing is that, like, you know, I'm over here doing stuff for you, but you can't do nothing for me. Here's this other girl that's doing nothing for you, and you doing everything for her that she wants. Like, why? That don't make any type of sense. That's backwards. Why are you doing that? Why are you being backwards? He thinks we don't know about each other, but we do, so I'm gonna bring it up. And I texted him, and I was like, hey, so you just gonna act like you can't text me now because you talking to blank? And he was like, what are you talking about? And I was like, you know what I'm talking about. I know you're talking to her, and that's why you not replying to me. And he was like, no, that's not it at all. And I'm like, yes, it is. And then he started talking about some BS and everything like that. And I was just like, okay, whatever. So time goes on, is like they continue talking. Like, it pisses me off more and more, because I'm like, what the fuck? Like, why? Like, this was my entertainment, and now my entertainment is dwindling because he talking to somebody else. But anyway, one day, me and him weren't talking at all. Like, we were completely done. Like, we were just done, or at least I thought we were done. And this man has worked there long enough to know what doors you can come in and out of in the front of the store. There are 2 sets of doors you can only exit. Like, you cannot come in them. There is no way for you to enter through them. And this man knows that. But tell me why he tried to come in through those doors one time with a whole entire couch that he was bringing in. What? Like, okay, I was mad. But I opened the door anyway, because I'm like, you know what? I could be nice. It's fine. I can be nice and open the door. Because his self is too dumb to go through the right doors. So, I opened the doors, and, you know, I'm expecting to get a thank you or something like that, because I didn't have to be nice. I didn't have to open the doors. I didn't get one single thank you at all. Like, well, let me rephrase that. I got one from his partner, but that's not the thing, because, like, that's just not it. Like, you're welcome. I would get the door for you anytime because you're nice. But anyway, this dude didn't tell me thanks or nothing like that. So I was just like, okay, I'm going to keep that in the back of my mind. So, one day he was bringing in more donations. And I was just like, I got a question for you. He completely ignored me. And I was just like, I was doing what I do. I was just saying, oh, so I guess we ignoring people again today. And we not talking to people today. And we just going to be rude today. And he came over, he's like, oh, I thought you were talking to somebody else. And I was like, no, I was talking to you. I got a question for you. And he's like, oh. And I was like, yeah. And he's like, what's the question? And I was like, so, do you just leave your manners at home or something when you come to work, or what? Because I'm confused. And, you know, he's over here doing the same thing he always does. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? What do you mean? And I'm just like, you know what I'm talking about. But then again, I gotta remember, he's old. He might not remember what I'm talking about, apparently. So anyway, he's like, what are you talking about? So I refresh his memory a little bit. I'm like, when you brought that couch in and I opened the door for you guys, you didn't even say thank you or nothing like that. And this man tried saying he is well-mannered. And I'm like, no, you're not. You're not even going to say thank you for me opening the door for you. So, anyway, he was like, he said that his, partner said thank you. And I'm like, no, that does not count. It doesn't count for you. You're supposed to say thank you. And he was like, oh. And I was like, yeah. And I walked back over to what I'm doing. This man's mind was frozen or something. Like, I guess I filled his mind with too much information or something, because he was just stuck. He was frozen. Like, he had the same facial expression and everything. He was just frozen there for a good minute. And I just go back to what I'm doing. And he was like, well, if it means anything, thank you. And I was just like, no, it don't mean nothing. I just want to be petty and bring it up. So anyway, after that whole thing happened, a few hours later, he texted me. He is like, you just want this, don't you? And I'm like, how does me telling you that you don't have manners correlate to me wanting you? Like, that doesn't make sense to me. Like, that just doesn't work. Like, it doesn't work out. 2 and 2 don't go together in that situation. And anyway, we start texting again because I'm bored. I haven't had anyone to entertain me. I haven't been able to entertain nobody else. So I'm like, okay, whatever. I guess I'm going to start talking to you again. So we start talking again. And I don't know what exactly it was that made me mad this time. But there was just some BS that made me really mad. And then, the girl ends up coming to me, like, she talks to me about a lot of the stuff that they do, and it pisses me off, because I'm just like, I don't really care, can you shut the fuck up? So, anyway, she was telling me, she's like, oh, his hands are so soft and everything like that. I'm like, oh, so you get some lotioned up hands, and I get some dry ass hands, because his hands are drier than anything. Like, just drier than the driest thing on earth. Drier than the desert. Like, really. I'm not even exaggerating at this point. Like, his hands are all cracked up and everything. But anyway, something happened. I got really pissed off. So I was just like, you know what? I'm for real done this time. Like, I'm 100% done with him this time. So I ended up deleting our messages, and I deleted his number, and I deleted everything that was of that situation, because I was just like 100% done with it. I'm just like, I'm done. I'm not going back to it. It's had the nerve to be like, oh, we can just be text buddies. Okay, that's all we ever really were, honestly. Like, you too scared to do anything else besides text, so what exactly are we then? That's already what we were, and it's not working out that great, so why even be that? Like, it just don't make sense. That whole situation didn't make sense, and it was just really messy, and it was wild from start to finish. Even if this makes it sound boring or whatever, it was just weird, and something I never expected to deal with or anything like that. Like, part of me is like, when everything was happening, I was okay with it happening, but after things were done, like, it made me feel disgusted. Like, I was disgusted with myself, and I'm like, I have no issue with there being a huge age gap between people if they're dating or talking or whatever, but it's just not something I'm into. So every time I would start thinking about that giant age gap and how old he actually was, like, it really grossed me out, and I was just like, what the fuck? Why would I let myself talk to somebody like that? And yeah, it was kind of like a self-hatred type of thing. Like, even though I knew I would hate myself for going along and doing these things with him, I would still let myself do it because I wanted a reason to be disgusted with myself and that kind of stuff. And it was just a whole bunch of toxicity in that whole thing. Like, that's what I got out of it, I guess. I don't know. Like, I can't even remember why it started. Like, I think I was just really bored, and I wanted somebody to entertain. I wanted somebody to entertain me. So that's why the whole thing got started. But it was messy. It was super messy. Like, and yeah, it was a lot. Well, that is it for my first story time. Hopefully everything is good. Hopefully the lighting is good. Hopefully the sound is good, because I'm trying to be loud, but like, I don't really have a loud voice.